Well, in Washington, D.C., the president and lawmakers are working to send billions of dollars in aid to Israel. Senator James Lankford believes the U.S. should not only help Israel, it should also target Iran. Capitol Hill correspondent Matt Galka spoke with the senator and brings us this report.
Don't be fooled. This is not an Israel issue. This is an Iran problem.
Oklahoma Senator James Lankford tells CBN News that's why the U.S. must immediately enforce greater sanctions against Iran.
Literally, Israel is facing violence from three different sides, all being funded by or stirred up by the Iranian regime. So a couple of things are pretty basic for this. The Biden administration has reduced the enforcement of the sanctions on Iran on their oil sales. So their oil sales have skyrocketed, giving a lot more money to Iran so they can send it to Hezbollah, they can send it to Hamas. That has to stop. We've got to actually enforce the sanctions that are in place.
Lankford sees the war in Israel as part of a worldwide scenario that threatens U.S. national security. Combined with the growing threat of China and Russia's continued war with Ukraine, Lankford believes the U.S. helping its allies is necessary to keep America safe. The debate now is whether to couple both Israel and Ukraine in the request.
Well, if we're going to tie those two together now, but those two both need to be done. I know there's a lot of controversy on providing aid to Ukraine. Let me make it very clear. Ukraine is currently being attacked by Russia with funding from China and weapons from North Korea and Iran. So when you have Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia together, if the United States just yawns and walks away and says that's no big deal, we're literally turning a new world order over to Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia. That's a bad idea for the entire world.
The White House's $100 billion request does link the two.
Why is Joe Biden going on national television and selling people on a Ukrainian escalation when Joe Biden is talking about the terrible tragedy in Israel? Whatever your views, Sean, on Ukraine, it is a separate country and a separate problem. I think what the president did is completely disgraceful.
Strong bipartisan support still exists to help both countries.
I think it requires a worldwide approach rather than trying to take parts of it out. It's all connected. The Chinese and the Russians said they're now friends forever. Iranian drones are being used in Ukraine and against the Israelis.
There's resistance among some Republicans, including here in the Senate, about bundling things together. Is it possible to pass Ukraine aid if it's not tied to Israel?
I just think that's a mistake. I mean, I know there are some Republicans in the Senate and maybe more in the House that think Ukraine is somehow different. I view it as all interconnected.
Unless something changes, the Senate is the only chamber that can craft a funding package. That's because the House still needs a speaker, and without one, legislation can't get through Congress and to the president's desk. House Republican leaders see this as a major problem on the world stage.
I want a speaker in the chair so we can move forward and get my issues, my Committee of War and Peace. It's too dangerous right now. The world's on fire, and this is so dangerous what we're doing. And most importantly, it's embarrassing because it empowers and emboldens our adversaries like Chairman Xi, who says, democracy doesn't work.
For what it's worth, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said over the weekend that he would have, quote, already sent aid to Israel if he still had the gavel today. The House tries again to elect a new speaker this week. Matt Galka, CBN News.
Well, we need to pay attention to what's happening all around the world. I agree with those. I agree with Senator Lankford. Yes, we need to step up. This is our time. This is our generation, and we need to step up to these authoritarian, these terrorist regimes, these regimes that want to kill innocent civilians. What has happened in Ukraine is absolutely horrific. Rape was used as a method of warfare in eastern Ukraine. It's horrible. Civilians were targeted by their cruise missiles. Power stations were targeted. Water was targeted. All of these things happened under Russia's direction and their control. And I'm very proud of the Ukrainian people for standing up and saying, no, you don't get to take our country. You don't get to have it. We have an absolute right to self-determination. We have an absolute right to self-defense. We want to push back against this kind of terror act by a sovereign nation. The same with Israel. What happened is absolutely horrific. We should never allow that in any kind of civilized universe. It just doesn't make any sense. For the UN, here's the EU. They've already come out and accused Israel of war crimes. We're already seeing the preparations at the court in Hague to have some kind of war crime trial, to have investigations, all of this. What is there to investigate? It's a terror state. They have done something absolutely horrific, and they have no right to exist anymore. It has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with now, and it's up to us. It's our generation's time to shine, to say, yes, we want to stand for liberty. We want to stand for freedom. We want to stand for Israel. We want to stand for Ukraine.